What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview coverage. We've got a huge one today. Today, the Cleric has been revealed to us and a lot of other crazy things as well. I'm super stoked for all the changes that are coming to 2nd Edition. Really, it feels like, again, a lot of homebrew stuff is being made canon, and I really could not be more happy with the direction that we're going in. Before we get down to it though, real fast, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Chris Ward. Chris, thank you so much for your time and support. Truly, it means the world. Now let's dive in. Okay, so we all know clerics from 1st edition Pathfinder and even farther back, right? It's the quote-unquote stereotypical healer class. The one that has Cure Light Wounds prepared because they know they want to come in as the healer, or because they've been shoehorned into the role, not knowing we could just channel positive energy in the first place, or spontaneously cast cure spells. Everything from buffing the party to raising or lowering water levels, to forcing our enemies to bow in fear of our power, the Cleric had it. Of all the spellcasting classes, I feel like the Cleric might be one of the most versatile, despite the fact that often, again, the Cleric gets shoehorned into that healer role. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it looks like it's going to be about the same, but with some obvious changes for a new edition. A lot of the changes we're seeing today are changes less to the Cleric and more to character creation in general. Cleric's key ability score is Wisdom. This means that they get an ability boost to Wisdom at 1st level, increasing their Wisdom score by 2. Yeah, you heard that right. Being a Cleric automatically takes your Wisdom score up. They also use this key ability to determine DCs of their spells. Spells are also affected by proficiency. Clerics are trained in divine spells, so they add 10 plus their level plus their Wisdom modifier for their spell DC. They use this same proficiency for touch attacks on their spells and for spell rolls, but the fact that the Cleric gets a Wisdom buff because the Cleric is huge. From this we can extrapolate the Wizard has an Intelligence buff, the Sorcerer has a Charisma buff, the Barbarian a Strength buff, etc, etc, etc. To put it in Pathfinder 1st Edition terms, if you really want to play that Orc Cleric of Gozra, it's now a little easier to do so because in addition to the fact that you can buy off, sort of, your ability flaw with your +2 to any one ability score, you get a +2 to your Wisdom, or whatever the key ability score for your class is, literally just for hitting level 1 in that class. On that note, one wonders if that means multi-classing won't just throw your ability scores into the roof. If my fighter at 5th level decides to multi-class Cleric, does that mean he still gets a Wisdom buff? If so, multi-classing just got a lot more powerful and a lot more relevant. Really, it was already powerful in the first place. I'm stoked. The Cleric of Pathfinder 2nd Edition looks similar to the Cleric of Pathfinder 1st Edition. Your deity still has a major impact on your character, you're trained in your deity's favored weapon, and you get access to one of their domains. Your choice of domains, to quote Paizo, gives you a unique domain power. Powers are a special type of spell that comes only from your class and are cast with spell points. Think of things from Pathfinder 1st Edition like domain powers or wizard school powers. Now those are cast with spell points. These powers are stronger than cantrips, but not as strong obviously as your level 10 spells. A Cleric's initial power costs 1 spell point to cast. They get a starting pool of spell points equal to their Wisdom, you assume, modifier, not ability score, because oh my god, and can increase this by taking feats later on. If they get other ways to cast powers of a different type, they combine their spell points into one pool. So I guess that means if your Cleric multi-classes Sorcerer, your Sorcerer powers, your Cleric powers, they all roll together. Again, this is kind of the ship sailing on, but here's the big one. Quoting Paizo, a Cleric's deity also imposes some restrictions on her, collectively called Anethema, representing acts that go against her deity's will and teachings that violate their alignment requirements. Paizo gives some examples of various acts for these. For example, it is Anethema for a Cleric of Sarenrae to cast a spell that would help them lie. But Paizo is intentionally leaving this broad enough that a GM and player can make the final say in how these work in their games. Many other classes that follow similar restrictions have their own Anethema. Most likely, calling it here now, Paladins will be removed from the top left corner of the alignment block. Paladins can be any alignment. This also most likely applies to druids, meaning we can build a true neutral paladin of Gazra or a lawful good druid of Erastil. This is huge news. I don't know about you guys, but it's been house ruled at my tables for a long time that a paladin could be whatever alignment they wanted to be within one step of the deity they worshipped or the ideal they followed. Their smite would affect the opposite alignment, and they would be held to the basic moral standing of that god. Now, that's not just a house rule, now that's in the core rulebook. I could not be more pleased. Chaotic good paladin of Caden Kalian, here we come. Now, enough freaking out about that. Clerics will increase their proficiency rank with divine spells to expert at 12th level, master at 16th, and legendary at 19th level. At level 1, a cleric can cast 2 first level spells each day, which they prepare from the selections on the divine spell list. Now, whether or not that means that clerics and druids, both being divine casters, will both prep from the same spell list, or if druid spells are now called nature spells, that remains to be seen. But if the line between the cleric and the druid, or truly even the cleric, the druid, the oracle, the hunter, the inquisitor, etc., blurs a little bit in such a way that flavoring a nature cleric or a divine druid becomes a little easier, I'm all for it. Every time you gain an even level, you get one more spell slot per day of your highest level of spells. So at 2nd level, for example, a cleric has 3 first level spells per day. At every odd level, you get access to a new level of spells. You'll always be able to cast 2 or 3 spells of your highest level and 3 spells of every lower level, plus your cantrips and powers. Your 9th level spells will cap out at 3 spells, so at 19th level you become legendary in spellcasting instead. 10th level spells will be talked about in a future blog, but we're assuming that means level 20 or maybe even level 20 plus. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the bonus spells granted for having a high ability score have been eliminated. Of course, your wisdom, your intelligence, your spellcasting modifier still matters for generating spell DCs and stuff, but to quote Paizo, giving it slightly less weight makes it more practical for you to play a Cleric of Gorum who focuses on strength and uses spells that don't involve your spell DC or have decent effects even if your enemy succeeds. And here I won't say that we're seeing a spellcaster nerf. Spellcasters are being brought down a little bit to the realm of Johnny Platemail and Billy Greataxe, the fighter and barbarian of my new headcanon campaign respectively, because they won't have access to as many tools. Of course, you assume the wizard will still have some way to fill his spellbook, and the cleric probably will as well, but it won't be intrinsic to the class and intrinsic to your casting modifier. What that also means is when we do raise our wisdom, we don't have to go dig out 3 or 4 different tables to figure out how many new spells we've got and then try to pick some of the meh spells after we've already picked all the killer spells. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Channel Energy, that thing that we know in 1st Edition as the big burst of positive or negative energy, lets you cast Heal or Harm an additional number of times per day equal to 3 plus your Charisma modifier. These spells are heightened to the highest spell level you can cast, so when you hit 3rd level, that first new odd level, and gain access to 2nd level spells, those spells all become 2nd level. This will replace the 1st Edition Cleric's Spontaneous Healing, which of course was the ability to sacrifice a prepared spell to generate a cure spell. Now we're getting it from Channel Energy, and if we think we need more heal spells, or if we're playing the healer, we have to outright prepare the heal spells in addition to the ones we get from Channel Energy. For example, Pharasma lets you cast Heal, Rovagug makes you cast Harm, and someone like Abadar or Lamashtu lets you choose your path at 1st level. I expected Lamashtu to be one of the ones that says you have to channel negative energy. Now I'm a little more excited to see how the gods work in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Truly, August 2nd can't get here fast enough. We're going to round out this video with some cleric feats. To quote Paizo, as we've mentioned before, we always wanted Pathfinder 2nd Edition to provide all classes with a sizable number of options for customization. The cleric was one of the classes that had the most to gain, since a cleric got a bunch of class features at 1st level, then crickets for the rest of their career. The first feat that's brought up for clerics is known as Communal Healing. When you cast Heal, if you have Communal Healing to heal someone other than yourself, you regain some hit points as well. Second feat up is Turn Undead, a classic, which forces undead that critically fail their saves against your heal spells to flee from you. The third one, Expanded Domain, allows you to explore your deity's domains further, which gets you an additional power from a different domain than the first one you chose. Also, you can select Expanded Domain twice, letting you get a maximum of 3 domains. You'll get access to new Cleric feats at every even level except 12 and 16 when you increase your spell DCs instead. The next feat to come up is known as Advanced Domain, which you can select at 4th level to gain the advanced power from one of your domains. That's hitting the nail on the head pretty hard. At 8th level, if you channel positive energy, the feat Channel Succor lets you cast Remove Curse, Remove Disease, Remove Paralysis, or Restoration with your channeled energy instead of just heal. So taking that feat means for 3 actions, we can remove curse on everybody. Of course, we're talking about a casting class, and we would be remiss if we didn't bring up, at least for a little bit, Metamagic. To quote Paizo, you can activate a Metamagic feat when you cast a spell. This increases the number of actions required to cast that spell and modifies the spell in some way. At first level, for example, you can select Reach Spell to let you add a somatic casting action to a spell, or another action in other words, and increase its range by 30 feet, or to make a touch spell into a ranged touch spell with a 30-foot range. The Clerics will have access in 2nd edition to some others that are more specific for them. For example, the 20th level Cleric feat, Metamagic Channeler, lets you apply a Metamagic feat to a harm or heal spell without adding an action to its casting, so a maximized heal at 20th level, yeah, seems good. The last 2 feats we're here to talk about today are Command Undead, the opposite of Turn Undead, a 4th level feat that lets you change the effect of any harm spell, instead allowing you to take control of an undead creature. Finally, we have Heroic Recovery. It's a level 8 feat that'll add a powerful buff to heal spells. You can target 1 creature at range using 3 actions, essentially the 2-action version of heal, plus another action to activate the Metamagic. So this is a Metamagic feat too. I didn't expect that. I expected the Metamagic feats to be like Maximize Spell. Something spell. It looks like in Pathfinder 2nd edition, these feats will just have the Metamagic category, which makes them sound a little less boring, so yeah, sure. Anyway, using Heroic Recovery allows you to heal someone for a solid number of hit points and give them a bonus to attack and damage rolls and a 5-foot increase to speed for a round. Yeah, sure, sounds great to me. Again, one of the things I'm really stoked about in Pathfinder 2nd edition is to see just how fast to pull that off. It looks like I'm gonna have to befriend a Cleric. But what do you guys think about the Pathfinder 2nd edition Cleric? Are you a big fan of Clerics in Pathfinder 1st edition? Do you think you'll play one in 2nd? More importantly, again, are you guys still stoked out there for Pathfinder 2nd edition? As always, let me know in the comments. We'll keep the conversation going. On the subject of 2nd edition, our Pathfinder Doomsday Dawn giveaway is live, and again, it's been funded. 6 lucky subscribers on this channel will run through the Doomsday Dawn adventure, the first ever published bit of content for Pathfinder 2nd edition. To enter in that giveaway, follow this card right up here. Remember, patronage at any tier will get you an extra entry in the giveaway and can help us run through Doomsday Dawn with more than one party. And lest we forget about Pathfinder 1st edition, we're throwing a tournament to celebrate 10 years of a wonderful RPG. I need 16 players to roll up the most broken Drow Nobles and pure-blooded Aslanti and all that other crazy stuff to compete in a little bit of Bloodsport for the glory of Paizo Productions. If you might be interested in that, follow this card right up here. As always, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd edition preview content drops this Saturday.